I was scrolling through Facebook Marketplace the other day and I saw a dream deal. 2 1-meter precision linear modules with ball screws for just a few $100s, and they were real close to me. I contacted the seller and got the full details, and I had my wallet out. I figured these would be perfect for each side of the y-axis on the machine I'm designing, and the cool thing was I hadn't got as far as designing the y-axis yet, so it would be easy to incorporate them into my design. There wouldn't even be any rework on show. But wait a minute, I remembered I have a design spreadsheet to crunch the numbers. Let's take the emotion out of buying a bargain, crunch the numbers, and focus on cold, hard facts. After all, I trust the spreadsheet more than my emotional state of euphoria when it comes to buying linear motion gear. My stepper drive is only rated for 50 volts, and I have it paired with a 48 volt power supply, so I'm not upgrading my entire power architecture for one bargain. Look at this. I plug in the mass and the ball screw details, and boom! To move these heavy ball screw modules at the speeds I need, the spreadsheet is saying I need to run them at over 200 volts. My drivers will catch fire well before then. Heck, this is not going to work. Time to look a bit deeper. Maybe I can get them to work with some mechanical changes. I introduced this spreadsheet in the last video, and I received some comments about my design calculations. I'll share some of them with you, and then we'll do a deep dive into the spreadsheet calculations that use the work energy method. This one probably sums it up best. Sorry, but closed loop is the way to go. Reduced heat, better at not losing steps, better overall efficiency, on average, not much more expensive. Even the drivers have become much better. With open loop, you lose steps and it's game over, and the motors can get extremely hot, which is wasted power. Closed loop can auto-correct and at least catch them and inform and then carry on. Maybe some vendors are having the sales and begs the question why. I think you know why. So my reply this morning was, I do agree with your view, but the real point is that the motor design, that if you do the motor design properly, you will have a more reliable motion system. Just whacking some encoders on and saying everything is hunky-dory is never going to work if there is a mismatch between the system demand and what your motor can deliver. It's never going to work. But then again, if you get the design right, your motors will never need to catch up on missteps. So closed loop is great in protecting you from crashes, e.g. hitting a load limit, as following errors exceed limits, and this stops things before any real damage occurs. So the calculation appears to assume a near constant stepper torque close to holding torque and does not account for the torque as RPM increases. At higher speeds, available torque can fall dramatically depending on motor inductance, supply voltage, and the driver, so the spreadsheet can be overly optimistic. To fix it, you need to calculate a torque versus RPM curve or an electrical model and compare the required torque to available torque at the actual operating speed during actual acceleration. Well, that's exactly what the model did. The model includes the electrical side, so we calculate the required torque and then see if the motor can deliver it with an acceptable voltage, amperage and heat limits calculated from the electrical specs. One motor might be able to meet it, but only at 110 volts, so it fails unless you can find a driver that can deliver that voltage. Others might require 5 amp motors to use 9 amps, so it fails. We have a torque spec calculated at 24 volts by the manufacturer, and we're running at double the volts, so we have more torque to start with. I only validated against torque curves for the voltage challenge and axis and display a graph towards the end of the video. Moon Industries, who I have also used after evaluating against the model, actually allow you to redraw torque curves at your chosen voltage. And it's really worth reviewing their website to see that model. But the system motor inertia ratio is a critical indicator. If the motor is outside its limits, it will show the imbalance. This is actually a really good case study for it because the model, the Z-axis model, takes it to its limit. Adding a 2-to-1 gearbox almost made it work at 51 volts, but if I went to a 3-to-1 gearbox, it required 77 volts, which was a fail. So if you're getting value from the videos I present here on this channel, it'd be great if you could duck over to ko-fi.com and buy me a coffee. And over time, we will have lots of exciting resources here that you won't find anywhere else. So thanks for those people who have already supported me on this channel. Those of you who watched the last video, which I'll link, would have seen this, but this is looking at the work energy method at the time that the work is being done. And this is a familiar trapezoidal motion profile where we have velocity here and time here, and we see an acceleration phase, a phase at constant velocity where there's really nothing other than cutting forces and friction impacting on the motor, and then a deceleration phase. So let's have a look at this. The maximum weight of this, what this axis can handle, was 25 kgs, and that matches pretty favorably to the 50 kgs that I estimated would be the weight of the machine. So that's okay. And then the book velocity, instead of being 800, goes out to 3500, which is what I had over here. Let's go down. 16mm ball screw, lead screw length 1000, 5mm pitch. These I didn't change. Rack and pinion efficiency, lead screw efficiency, bearing friction constant, reduction efficiency. The 2-to-1 there, I probably should put something in there. So 97%. No pulleys, none of this. Cutting forces, we said 150 over here. So let's change that to 150 Newton meters. Cutting forces on X and Y. And all this we don't fill in. And I'll just show you this because it just gives you an idea of how many motors that I've evaluated against this model. So, so there's quite a lot of them. As I keyed one in, I put it out here in the spreadsheet so to make it easy to cut and paste the data back into the spreadsheet as I was playing around. So once again, the motor inertia ratio is not high. It's 0.3 to 1, and we'd like to see that at 1 to 1. But it's saying the gearbox needs 11 Newton meters, and the motor 1.5. And I've color-coded these now. Oh, one other thing I didn't do is change this from vertical to horizontal, so it takes out the forces of gravity from 9.81 meters per second, which is equivalent to 1 G if you must deal with imperial units. So we come down. So this is a 2 amp motor, and it needs 8.4 amps. It exceeds it at RMS, so maybe you could argue that's all right, but it needs 218 volts. Wow, that's not going to work. And a 1800 watt power supply. So this motor is never going to work. These motion modules are just not designed for what we need to send at it. So I saved my money and didn't buy them. So now you can see if I ran these on my 48-volt system, they would have stalled, missteps, or been painfully slow. And I would have ended up with a metre-long $500 paperweight. So I truly dodged a bullet. Thank God for maths.